James wiped the sweat from his brow as he settled into the worn plastic seat of the interplanetary transport shuttle. The cramped vessel hummed with the chatter of dozens of species, all heading to the outer rim colonies for work, trade, or new beginnings. After 18 grueling hours working the asteroid mines, every muscle in his body ached, but the pay was decent enough to support his sister Liza back on Earth during her medical school studies. The shuttle lurched slightly as it adjusted course, and James noticed an elderly Kethvar struggling down the narrow aisle. The reptilian being's scales had dulled to the pale yellow that indicated advanced age among his species, and his elongated spine curved unnaturally, forcing him to lean heavily on a walking stick carved from what looked like centaurian bone. The Kethvar paused beside James's row, breathing heavily. His large amber eyes darted around the packed shuttle, but every seat was occupied. Several passengers pointedly looked away or buried themselves deeper in their datapads. James had seen this before. Humans weren't exactly popular in this sector. Most species viewed them as crude newcomers who'd somehow stumbled into space travel, barely 2 centuries ago. The more established civilizations tolerated human presence in their territories, but rarely went out of their way to help them. The sentiment unfortunately flowed both ways, but watching the old Kethavar's obvious pain stirred something in James that his exhaustion couldn't suppress. His mother had raised him better than this. "Sir," James said, standing up despite his protesting joints. "Please take my seat." The Kethvar's head tilted in surprise, his amber eyes widening. Around them, conversations quieted as nearby passengers turned to stare. A blue-skinned Aquarian female whispered something to her companion in their musical language, while a crystalline Zephyrite chimed what sounded like disapproval. "You offer your resting place?" the Kethvar asked, in accented standard, his forked tongue flicking out briefly. "To one such as myself?" "Of course," James said, stepping aside. "You need it more than I do." The elderly being slowly lowered himself into the seat, his relief palpable as his spine straightened slightly against the backrest. "Most unexpected. I am Elder Sistak of the Kethvar Conclave. Might I know the name of this kind human?" "James Morrison, sir, just a minor." Elder Sistak's eyes gleamed with something James couldn't identify. "James Morrison. I will remember this name." The rest of the journey passed uneventfully, though James noticed the elder watching him with curious intensity whenever he thought James wasn't looking. When they finally docked at Kepler Station, James helped the old Kethvar gather his belongings before disembarking into the bustling commercial hub. James had barely made it to the immigration checkpoint when alarms began blaring. Emergency lights bathed the station in harsh red illumination, and automated announcements echoed through the corridors in 17 different languages. "All civilian personnel report to designated safety zones immediately." This is not a drill. Through the massive viewport windows, James could see them, sleek predatory ships emerging from hyperspace like sharks scenting blood. The distinctive hull markings made his stomach drop. Vorthak raiders, the most vicious, pirates in 3 sectors. They were known for taking entire stations hostage, selling survivors into slavery, and spacing anyone who resisted. Station security forces scrambled to their positions, but James could see the hopelessness in their movements. Kepler Station's defenses were designed for customs enforcement, not military engagement. The incoming Vorthak fleet outnumbered them 10-1. As chaos erupted around him, James felt a firm hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Elder Sistak, no longer leaning on his walking stick, standing with perfect posture. "James Morrison," the elder said, his voice carrying an authority that cut through the panic. "You showed kindness to one who appeared weak and worthless. Now witness how the universe sometimes rewards such actions." The elder raised his walking stick high above his head, and James realized it wasn't a cane at all. The carved bone began, glowing with intricate patterns pulsing like a heartbeat. The elder spoke a single word in the ancient Kethvar tongue, his voice somehow carrying across the entire station despite the alarms and screaming. Space around Kepler Station suddenly erupted with new arrivals. Massive warships materialized from stealth fields, sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. Their design was unlike anything James had ever seen. incorporating elements from dozens of different species, but unified by an elegance that spoke of ancient power. The HFY Protectorate fleet, Elder Sistak explained calmly as the station shook from weapons fire. We have served as guardians of this sector for millennia, though few remember. We prefer it that way. On the command frequency that somehow played through every speaker on the station, a voice boomed with absolute authority. Vorthak vessels, you will cease your aggression immediately. This station and all within it are under the protection of Elder Sistak of the High Council. Withdraw or be destroyed. The lead Vorthak ship responded with a volley of plasma torpedoes aimed directly at the station. They never reached their target. The Protectorate ships moved with impossible grace, their defensive screens absorbing the attack while return fire lanced out with surgical precision. One by one, the Vorthak vessels were either disabled or forced to retreat, their hulking forms limping back toward hyperspace. As the immediate danger passed, Elder Sistak turned to James with what might have been a smile on his reptilian features. Your species puzzles many, James Morrison. You are young, aggressive, often foolish. But today, you reminded an old warrior that kindness exists in the darkest reaches of space. For this reason, Kepler Station and its trade routes will remain under Protectorate protection for the next solar cycle. James stared at the ancient being, finally understanding. You're not just an elder, you're military. I am Sistak the Voidwalker, Supreme Commander of the HFY Protectorate. I have fought in campaigns that lasted centuries, protected worlds your species has yet to discover. The elder's amber eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom. But in 200 years of service, no one has ever offered me their seat on a transport shuttle, certainly no human. As the all-clear sounded and normal lighting returned to the station, Elder Sistak handed James a small crystalline device. Should you ever find yourself in true peril, break this. The Protectorate does not forget its debts. James looked down at the crystal, then back up at the disguised commander. I don't understand. It was just a seat. To you, perhaps. To me, it was proof that honor exists in the youngest of species. The elder began walking away, his disguised frailty returning. Tell your sister Liza that her brother's kindness may have just changed the course of human HFY relations for generations to come. As James watched the old warrior disappear into the crowd, he realized that sometimes the smallest gestures echo across the galaxy in ways nobody could predict. He tucked the crystal safely into his pocket and smiled, already composing the letter he'd send to Earth. In the vastness of space, kindness was the rarest element of all.